How are you going to put Trevor Lawrence over Jalen Hurts when it comes to the Heisman race?
I literally just told you.
Trevor Lawrence looked atrocious the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
Atrocious might be a stretch, but Clemson's going to be undefeated, and we all know what the Heisman voters value the most. The best players on the best teams. Do you agree with me or not? This is Campus Lore Live, where NFL players are the experts on college football. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside Aaron Murray. And this week, we are joined by Josh Dobbs, former Tennessee quarterback, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Auden Tate out of Florida State, currently with the Cincinnati Bengals. Aaron, what a weekend it was. Obviously, everybody's talking about what happened in Tuscaloosa. A lot to unpack here. LSU wins the football game 46-41. First time they've beaten Alabama since 2011. And I got to give you credit right off the bat. You nailed this one right on the head. You said there would be a ton of points and that LSU would win. I don't know if it went exactly how you thought it would. That late touchdown by Alabama to make it a 5-point loss instead of a 12-point loss might help them later on this year. Let's talk about it. What happened in Tuscaloosa?
I was going to bring it up. I'm glad you manned up and gave me credit for that.
I had to. You called it. You spot on.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, we're not used to seeing it. I mean, when we were in school, this game was always a great football game. You go back 11, 12. I mean, always great games, but it's like, 7-3.
Yeah.
14-7, 9-6, and it just
21-0.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I love a good defensive game. Even being a quarterback, but this was awesome to watch. I mean, just big play after big play. Receivers, both running backs, though. I think that was I wouldn't say the most surprising thing to me, but I think both teams went into the game saying, we must run the football. We can't just think we can score every 2 minutes, give the ball to LSU or to Alabama's offense and let them go do the same thing. So that was the more impressive thing. Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards on the other side for LSU, running the ball effectively, offensive line dominating the line of scrimmage, them catching the ball in the backfield. Really, really good backs, and then both quarterbacks just doing their thing. But anytime you come to big games, what does it come down to? Turnovers.
Football. And
it started with the first drive, which I think you brought it up earlier. You and I were talking about this. You fumble the ball inside the 10-yard line, Tua, and then at the end of the half, you throw an interception, which turned to 7 points. So those are the little things that change momentum, that gets the other team really excited, and the juice is flowing, the adrenaline's cranking. And it puts your team behind. So Joe Burrow, no turnovers. LSU, no turnovers. They did have the punt return that Alabama returned for the touchdown. But other than that, very clean football game. And that's why they won that game. It was an impressive win.
Yeah, a lot of big plays in that game. A lot of explosive plays, which you just don't see in this rivalry, which you could have expected it with how high octane both of these offenses are. You just mentioned it. The two quarterbacks, you said it last week, the winner of this game would cement himself as the Heisman favorite, and your boy Joey Burrow did just that. Aaron, 31-39, 393 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and then tack on another 64 yards running the football. This kid has taken a humongous leap ahead of the rest of the Heisman pack. And in comparison to Tua, off the bum ankle, had ankle surgery just 20 days ago from game time. 21-40, 418 yards, a little bit inflated there, 4 touchdowns, and then that costly interception before half, -5 yards rushing with the fumble. And I'm asking you about the fumble because would the game have been different if he did hold on to the ball? Alabama scores and goes up 7-0 at home. Would it have been a different game, or was LSU winning it regardless?
Well, I thought LSU was going to win it regardless. I think it changes a little bit. I don't think the lead is as significant in that first half as we saw LSU heading into halftime. So it could have been a little bit more of an interesting second half. Still a great football game. But Joe Burrow, and this is like my mini Be Bold.
Okay.
We'll save the big Be Bold for later on. My mini Be Bold is Joe Burrow is having the best collegiate season as a true quarterback. Not Tim Tebow here. Tim Tebow's in a different cacategory.
Cam Newton's
in a different category. As a pure passer, and even Burrow can run a little bit, but Cam and Tebow, those dudes are true multi-dimensional guys that can do a little bit of everything. True pocket quarterback. Sam Bradford was awesome. You give to Sam. Matt Leinart, incredible. Joe Burrow right now, what he's doing in the SEC against elite talent and against Texas. I know Texas is not a great defense, but still a good team on the road early in the season. The best single season in college football history for a true quarterback, true pocket quarterback.
And that's your small B bold?
That's my small B.
All right. Well, the funny
bold.
thing about that, and a lot of people, you can make that argument, certainly. How many years have LSU fans been saying if we just had a quarterback, if we just had a quarterback, we could get over the hump? Joe Burrow is that quarterback. Is it sustainable? I mean, you're saying the guy is having the most prolific, pure passing season in college football history. I don't know how many times you can replicate that, but is what Coach O building and what he's actually built sustainable for the long haul? Is LSU here to stay?
If you pay Joe Brady,
yeah,
you got to pay Joe Brady.
That's
You
a
have
good
to.
way
I
to put
mean,
it.
if you lose a guy like Joe Brady, and I think they are going to lose him. Because I really do. We said last week, and I
too much talent.
The more I'm seeing it, and what he did this weekend, calling plays and the execution for LSU's offense, Joe Brady is going to be a head coach next season.
Wow.
I've jumped him completely from a full-time OC to quarter. Why would you not? If you're a team that needs a coach from Arkansas to Vanderbilt to USC to Florida State, why would you not offer this dude?
Yeah.
What he's done is nothing short of incredible. It really is. To turn an offense that has been so basic, mundane, plain, boring, into one of the best offenses of this. Not just Joe Burrow, but this offense right now
absolutely
is on pace to have one of the best offensive seasons in SEC history and college history. It really is. I mean, they're scoring, like 50 points a game? It's to me, he needs to be a head coach. So that's the issue LSU falls into next year. If Joe Brady's gone, what happens to all this creativity? Can you duplicate that from a play calling standpoint? And then obviously you lose Joe Burrow, who's excellent at the quarterback position, but who cares, man? Enjoy this right now if you're an LSU fan. If it doesn't happen again, whatever. Hang your head on that and just hope they can finish it off strong.
No doubt. So you mentioned Joe Brady, how well he's done for that offense and how they're able to execute his game plans. I think it goes a long way to talk about how talented he is. Going into last week, said I like Coach Saban over Coach Orgeron. Now the tables have sort of been turned. Paul Feinbaum, everybody's favorite SEC tastemaker, tweeted this. Nick Saban has now been schooled in his last two consequential games. He's talking about the national championship last year against Clemson and then this past weekend against LSU. Not a good look for the GOAT. Did Coach O out-coach Nick Saban last week? Because I'll just tell you right now, I don't think so. Coach O is a CEO. He's a cheerleader, and he's damn good at it. Did he out-delegate Nick Saban? Yeah, because he's letting Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger take over that offense. And then Dave Aranda, what he does with that defense speaks for itself. Yes, they gave up 41 points, but it allowed them to get the victory.
I think LSU is a better football team.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. Coaching helps. Being at home helped. But LSU right now is a better football team. They're better defensively. And then obviously when we said with Tua not being completely 100%, LSU's offense is better. They have a better run game right now. The receivers may not be A+ what Alabama's are, but they're an A- group. They're pretty darn good. Chase on the outside and Jefferson.
For sure.
That's awesome stuff right there. And then their tight end, Moss, making little toe taps by the end zone. They are loaded everywhere. So they are a better team, all around better team. So I don't know if you can say coaching is one way or the other. It was just a great game, but it's Nick Saban here. Let's not forget. If they find a way to sink into the playoffs, that team still has a chance to win because of him.
All right, you bring up a great point because I hear you talking about Tua playing on the bum ankle. I'm sitting here telling you they only lost by 5 points to the number one team in the nation. We would presume LSU is going to jump Ohio State this week. Is Alabama going to miss their first college football playoff, or will they find themselves well-positioned conference championship weekend?
I hope they don't make it. I don't think they deserve it,
yeah.
honestly. And the way they don't have a win you can hold your head on right now. Like, oh, we beat this top 10 team.
I mean, it's between Texas A&M and Tennessee,
that's
for real, as their best win.
That's what I'm saying. And even if they beat Auburn, say Auburn loses to Georgia this weekend.
That's a 3-loss Auburn team.
Yeah, so I mean, how great is that on your resume? So to me, the resume is not good enough to get them in over a Pac-12 championship, or even you could say right now a Big 12 champion. If Oklahoma wins out and wins that conference.
Or Baylor. We'll get to that. We'll get that.
So I don't think they deserve it.
Yeah.
And to me, you can say, oh, eyeball test. Their defense stinks.
Yeah.
I'm watching the games. I've watched every Alabama game. Their defense is not good at all. So what is the eyeball test? Oh, they got a great offense? Okay, great. Where's their defense at? Is that good enough to win against Clemson? Obviously, it's not good enough to win against LSU at home. I don't think it's good enough to beat Ohio State either.
Yeah, I'm just so interested to see what the committee does because, yes, they change their measurables week to week, but Alabama has that brand equity that the committee told you just a week ago doesn't matter because they had Clemson at number 5. Clemson, of course, is the defending national champions, and they're undefeated. I would assume Clemson's going to be number 3. Alabama will be number 4. They'll be just fine. And Coach Saban will be doing his thing, conference championship weekend, telling the American public, we're one of the 4 best teams in the nation. We certainly deserve to be in there. Minnesota, you mentioned it, and let's get to it because there was other action this past weekend.
Honestly, as of right now, have a better win.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
They beat Penn State.
No question about it.
And they looked really darn good the entire football. Tanner Morgan, I was giving him crap last week. I apologize, Tanner Morgan, to you. I said you have a noodle arm, and you proved me wrong. You were pretty darn good in that game.
That was awesome.
He balled out. That RPO game was incredible. That offensive line is gigantic.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely gigantic. Yeah, they're good. You know who's really good? Bateman, the receiver.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman. Did you know, Georgia kid, was committed to Minnesota. Georgia offered him late, and he called the coaching staff from Minnesota and said, no, I got this offer from Georgia. I just want to let you know I'm going to stay committed to Minnesota. How
good for him.
Pissed are Georgia fans that he's not?
He's good.
Imagine if he was wearing red and black right
doubt.
now. The ease and the less stress Georgia fans would have in the season. I mean, he is darn good. Johnson on the outside, too, with him. They're playing great. Defense was great. And then you flip it over for Penn State, their quarterback, 3 interceptions. He just did not look like what we've seen this entire season. Just off, late, was not really certain where he was going. And it's unfortunate. I thought they were a pretty good team. Just Minnesota had their number.
Minnesota dominated that football game. They went 31-26. Still undefeated. Couple of big games for them down the stretch at Iowa this coming weekend. We'll talk about that later on. And they'll host Wisconsin to round out the regular season. You mentioned Georgia, though. Georgia was number 6 last week. Number 3 lost. Number 4 lost. Where's Georgia going to end up? They pitched their 3rd shutout of the season. That defense is pretty tight right now for the Dogs.
Well, it helps when Kelly Bryant's not playing for Missouri.
Yeah, big time.
And this was a Missouri team that's been reeling a little bit. They did come off the bye week, so we're hoping they'd be healthy and ready to go. But true freshman quarterback coming in first start against that defense on the road, that's no bueno. That's a recipe for disaster. Georgia took advantage of it. It was good to see George Pickens, 2 touchdowns, making some sweet catches. He needs to get going because it just can't be Cager. Because if it's just going to be Cager on the outside, Lawrence Cager making plays for the receiving core, you're going to be in trouble. And we'll talk about the Auburn game this weekend, but there must be more guys on the outside, whether it's putting Harrion in the slot, utilizing the tight ends, Pickens, whoever it is, like other guys got to touch the ball because defenses are going to close down and put a safety over Cager to help with the cornerbacks. And the offensive line needs to continue to improve and get better. They had their moment at times versus Florida, especially in the pass game, but still has not been up to kind of what we expected this offense to be dominant-wise in the run game this entire season. Yeah, Georgia was number 6 last week in the college football playoff rankings. Clemson was number 5. Clemson's going to move up also. You kind of saw how they felt disrespected a week ago by being left out of the top 4. They manhandled NC State. Not a very good football team, but I think we're still in the same boat here, right? Clemson runs the table. They will be in the college football playoff. There's no way the committee can leave them out, can they? Well, Trevor Lawrence, last 3 games, 9 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah. Last 4 games, 12 touchdowns, a couple picks versus Louisville 4 games ago. But I think he's finally kind of knocked off the rust, that sophomore slump feel. Yeah, he's settling in. And I'm telling you, man, this team, this Clemson team, if Trevor's playing like this, is the 2nd best team in the country. With that defense, with the skill players around him and his ability, I would put them on the field with anyone else. I think them and Ohio State, the 2 best teams. Obviously, I think the LSU deserves to be 1. They have the best resume right now. So if you want to mix the resume with on the field eyeball test, LSU is the best team right now or deserves to be number 1. But just purely eyeball. If I'm just watching film and I don't know records or anything like that, Clemson, Ohio State, 1 and 2. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence keep playing like that and Justin Fields keep playing like that, they're going to be good to go. I could not agree with you more. Both those teams are undefeated. We mentioned Minnesota, they're undefeated. What about my guys down in Waco? The Baylor Bears, they're 9-0. College game day will be there this weekend. Oklahoma coming to town. If they were to run the table, would an undefeated Big 12 champion Baylor Bears football team make the college football playoff? You have to, but it's going to be tough. Luckily for them, the next 2 games, Oklahoma, Texas, are at home. So that's a positive. And then the last game of the season's at Kansas. So I think if you get through Oklahoma, Texas is not a great football team, so we'll see. The good thing about Baylor right now is the fact that they're finding ways to win. Like even this past weekend, I'm watching the game, it's like 9-6, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is a boring game, not a great game, and they're not playing well, but they found a way to tie it up, go into overtime and win it, and I think double or triple overtime. So that's a good sign about the mentality of a football team, and they're going to need that this weekend because they're going to have opportunities where things aren't going great, things are going great. How can we kind of hunker down and get ready to go?
Yeah, tough to ask to slow down Jalen Hurts and that potent Oklahoma offense, but Baylor's certainly going to try their best. A feel-good story, no doubt about that. Wrapping up the start of the show, other feel-good stories right now. Illinois, Lovie Smith. I mean, look, these guys have beaten Wisconsin. They upset Michigan State this past weekend. A great come-from-behind victory, but then also the Tennessee Volunteers showing life after a horrible start to the 2019 season, dropping games to Georgia State and BYU. What's the better feel-good story through 11 weeks, Illinois or Tennessee?
Jarrett Garantano.
Okay.
I'm going with quarterback. I'm going player. This quarterback has been through the ringer.
Yeah.
You want to talk about just absolutely publicly humiliated by his coach, his teammates,
he really has
the
been.
Fans. I mean, if I was him at times during the season, I wouldn't go to class. I would barricade myself in my dorm and just cry myself to sleep. Like it was this and like many hills up, and then he would just go downhill fast. I mean, it obviously culminated with that QB sneak versus Alabama where he decided to go rogue and didn't work out well, and Jeremy Pruitt grabs his face mask. And after that, I was like, you lost him. He's done. Like, don't even think about putting him back in the
amazing.
And ever since then, he's been lights out. He's been Mario Rivera. They call him out of the bullpen.
I mean,
second quarter,
Pruitt
second
rotates
half.
the quarterbacks like they're D linemen.
No, he rotates like a pitching staff. Like, all right, let's go to the righty. Bring the righty in. Let's go. And he just balls out, man. 7 of 8 this past week, couple of touchdowns. I think enough's enough. He is your starter going forward. Like, Maurer may be the starter next year. Garantano's the starter now. So, long answer, Garantano and Tennessee to me. You lose Georgia State, you lose to BYU, you look awful. People are calling for Pruitt's head. People are calling for Garantano that he shouldn't play football ever again.
I think I might have been one of those guys.
And now they have an opportunity to go 7-5. And right now, the way their defense is playing, the offensive line's gotten better. Like I said, Garantano's getting better. They should be 7-5. And a chance to have 8 wins this year.
I know.
Who would have thought they would have had 8 wins? So to me, that's the better one.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we were talking about Phil Fulmer possibly becoming the head coach, firing Jeremy Pruitt, starting the whole thing. That
was my
B
bowl, I think, at one point.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee having the opportunity to get bowl eligible and win 8 games is undoubtedly a better feel-good story than Illinois after how they started their season and what they had to deal with. And we're going to come back from break and talk to somebody who knows a lot about what's going on Rocky Top. That, of course, is Josh Dobbs. Come on right back. You're watching Campus Lore Live. Welcome back into Campus Lore Live. Time to bring in our first guest, a former Tennessee Volunteer quarterback, currently with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Dobbs joins the program. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. A big win for Tennessee this past week. And you have to think, this Tennessee Volunteer team, one of the feel-good stories heading into the latter parts of the 2019 season. Not a very good start, but these guys are playing for Coach Pruitt. A big win over Kentucky this past weekend.
Yeah, they're a very resilient bunch. As an alum, it's been fun to watch them. Of course, it was tough to watch the beginning of the season with how they started, but just to see how they've bounced back. They're playing well. Of course, we beat Kentucky. So as a Tennessee guy, that comes as no surprise to us. But that's an expectation. So it's good to see them go out and get the win. Glad to see them playing well. There's talks around Jacksonville of them coming back down to the Gator Bowl. They stay hot and finish out the season strong. So I missed them all year. So I love to be able to see them right here in Jack. So hopefully they keep playing well. I'm tuned in every Saturday and really happy for the guys.
Talk about a quarterback in Garantano who has been through the ringer this season. I mean, you start off 0-2, you're not playing well, turnovers, all these high expectations for Jim Chaney in this offense, and a lot of talks that he was picking it up and was ready to go, and early in the season did not look to be doing that at all. It looked like he regressed from last season. Talk about him and kind of his mental toughness, because a guy that's been through that, getting reamed by his head coach, being benched, freshman starting, and then now has been coming off the bench and just absolutely balling out. How tough is that for a quarterback to do, and how impressive is it to watch him go out there and play right now?
I think it's definitely tough for any quarterback to go through that, the adversity. of starting out the season slow, not as expectations, not playing as well as you have hoped, and then, getting benched. But I think if there's any type of player, any person that was able to go from that and overcome that adversity and excel after, it's Jarrett. I remember the first days he got on campus as a freshman my senior year, and you can definitely tell he was, one, competitive and two, tough. And he's shown that throughout his career, but I think especially this season, he's really exemplified the type of person he is, the type of leader he is, the type of competitor he is. And, as a guy that has kind of like seen him grow up from that 18-year-old freshman that got to campus to who he is now, it's really fun to watch from afar. I know it didn't start out as well as he wanted to, but to see him out there battling every single week, every time the coach calls his name, he's improving on his last performance. And now, as you said, he's playing well. Even see him out there with the cast on his left hand, and he's still out there competing, making plays for his team, standing in the pocket, making throws. It's fun to see, fun to watch, and I'm excited for the success he's having now, and I hope he continues to grow and excel, and I'll be there supporting him throughout the end of the season.
Let's look around the SEC a little bit. Everybody's obviously still talking about what happened in Tuscaloosa this weekend, LSU and Alabama combining for 87 total points. That's something that you're not used to seeing in that rivalry. When we were all in school, it was 9-6. It was 10-3. I mean, there was those low-scoring games really dominated by defense. What Joe Burrow and that LSU offense were able to do against Alabama, and then conversely, Alabama scoring 41 points on LSU's defense. What do you see as the most important thing in the trends of these offenses right now throughout the SEC?
I think it's really just getting the ball in your playmakers' hands. You watch Joe Burrow do that throughout the entire first half, getting the ball in his playmakers' hands from the first drive throughout the game, really. And it really showed when he was able to extend plays, make throws, get the ball in his playmakers' hands, and then they were able to make plays from there. Emma, we know like the type of receiving core that they have and have always had, and it seems like they have the four most dominant receivers on the field every Saturday. So I think that's the biggest thing. That's the direction college football is going. It's kind of, a spread them out game where we want to get the ball in our playmakers' hands as quick, as efficiently as possible, and let them go make plays. And if you do that, you're able to have a sound running game with a sound passing game. You're able to keep the defense honest. So that was an amazing game to watch. I was tuned in the entire time. Joe Burrow is really fun to watch. We know how fun Tua is to watch, but I think Joe Burrow really, he's been excelling all season. He really put himself out there this past game. So it was fun to watch. I'm glad to see, those types of games between number 2 and 3 go from the 9-6 game as it was when I was watching them in high school to the 46-41 game or whatever it was. Those games are a little more exciting. We love good defense, but as an offensive guy, offensive games are a little more fun to watch.
So when you look at the SEC East right now, flipping on the other side, it's Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee's kind of making a case to be that third best team on that side of the SEC. When you watch the film and you watch Georgia and you watch Florida, to you, how far away is Tennessee? How many recruiting classes are away? Are they close? Are they still 2 years away, 3 years away? Or do they have the possibility next year, if Garantano comes back, Maurer, some of those other guys, to really maybe be a contender against Georgia and Florida?
I think they're close, and I'm trying to stay, as unbiased as I possibly can. But when I look at the games, they had Georgia at Knoxville, a big night game. It was a one-possession game with 2 minutes left in the first half. If you take away a few mistakes, you take away some of the explosive plays, and Tennessee getting some explosive plays in the third quarter is anyone's game going to the fourth quarter. They're going on the road to Bama, and it's a one-possession game midway through the fourth quarter with an opportunity to win the game potentially. So I think they're close. Obviously, it's going to take the kids, the team to continue to fight, continue to rally around one another, continue to learn from Coach Pruitt and the all-star coaching staff that they have at Tennessee, and continue to improve. But I think they're close. It's fun to watch. I'm hoping that they're right there. I want to go see them in the playoffs here in the next couple of years. I think they're close, and they're definitely taking steps in the right direction. So let's see them finish out the season strong and hit the ground running next year.
Yeah, going back to Coach Pruitt, after the 0-2 start, people are saying he should get fired. People are wondering if Phil Fulmer is going to step in and be the interim coach for the rest of the season. You see this troubling trend around college football. Chad Morris fired after a season and a half at Arkansas. Willie Taggart fired after a season and a half at Florida State. Why do you think Tennessee and Phil Fulmer specifically stuck with Coach Pruitt? And good for them, because he's really turned this season around. What makes Coach Pruitt different?
No, I think if you just look at his track record, he's really been successful, everywhere he's been. He was at Florida State, he won a national championship. I had the opportunity to play against him twice in college, both when he was at Georgia, when they were excelling, and then when he was at Bama when they made national championship runs. So he's a good coach. There's no question about that. And he's succeeded at different places he's been. And what Tennessee needs is that consistency that, hey, we have a coach. Hey, we believe in him. Hey, our players believe in him. And all that matters is whoever's in that complex just coming together, competing for one another, loving one another, and just representing the brand of the University of Tennessee and excelling on Saturdays. I think, Coach Fulmer realizes that, obviously, with his success and his track record. So for him to be in the decision-making position, it definitely helps a lot. So a very successful coach, and he's been on that stage. He knows what a successful SEC program looks like. So I think that's why Coach Fulmer decided to stick with him. And it's a pretty good decision, it's looking like now. Of course, everyone's quick to jump and make rash decisions, but I'm glad we have a guy who's calm, cool, and collected in the driver's seat.
So if I'm a recruit and I'm between Georgia and Tennessee and Florida and I'm trying to figure out a place to go, you played quarterback there and I'm sitting in the room with you picking your brain. Sell me on Tennessee and why I should be the next fall.
So a kid who grew up in SEC country, grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, myself, I grew up watching every big game. The Alabama LSU game, the Florida Tennessee game, the Georgia Florida game, the Georgia Tennessee game. But getting a chance to go to Tennessee and live what it's like to be a student athlete there, there's truly no other place like it. One, University of Tennessee, 455 fans in the stands every single Saturday, screaming, yelling, excited to be a part of All Nation. And it's the University of Tennessee brand. I think, from going on the road and playing at other places, no disrespect to Georgia and Florida, to those other places, but University of Tennessee, the atmosphere on game day, the buzz around campus, the support from the school and the fans, there's no place like it. I think it's the best place in the world to attend college. And hopefully to any student athlete out there who's looking for their school of choice, hopefully Tennessee's at the top of their list.
All right, before we let you go, I need your thoughts on how this 2019 season is going to end for Tennessee, and then tell me how the SEC championship is going to go. LSU against presumably Georgia. What happens? Can Tennessee run the table, beat Vanderbilt and Mizzou to get bowl eligible? And who's going to win the SEC?
I think Tennessee will definitely run the table. I foresee them hopefully going to the Gator Bowl down here in Jacksonville and then getting their first bowl win since we left school in 2016. And then as for the SEC, I think LSU's hot. I think I'm going to ride the hot hand. LSU's hot. They've withstood probably the number one schedule in the country, going on the road to Texas, beating them, going on the road to Alabama, beating them, and everyone else that they've played. So they're battle tested. They're driven. They have a great quarterback. They have the skill players around them to help the quarterback on both sides of the ball. So I think LSU runs the table, wins the SEC, and then we'll let the playoffs, take care of themselves because no one knows what happens in January.
All right, man. Good stuff. Insightful, thorough, evolve for life. Josh Dobbs, thanks so much for joining us. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Auden Tate, former Florida State Seminole and current Cincinnati Bengal. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on Campus Lore Live. All right, we are back. Campus Lore Live. Huge shout out to Josh Dobbs, former Tennessee Volunteer, current Jacksonville Jaguar, for joining us. And now we're going to bring in our second guest this week from the Cincinnati Bengals and former Florida State Seminole, Auden Tate. Auden, thanks for being with us. A lot to get to regarding Florida State and what's going down in Tallahassee. But Coach Odell Haggins, the interim head coach, got a victory for the Seminoles last weekend against Boston College. Now 3-0 as an interim head coach. He was your D-line coach when you were at Florida State. What kind of guy is Coach Haggins?
He bleed, Florida State, bleed, guard, and go. He's everything, that Florida State stand for, the standard, played there, bled, sweated there. So, he's everything that's Florida State to me.
When I look at FSU, I mean, there's so much talent on that roster, both sides. Obviously, you recruit a bunch of great guys from the state of Florida. Is it all just you need a great head coach to kind of put it all together? And then, I mean, I see this FSU team, you get a good head coach, next year could be 8, 9, 10 win team. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think, the whatever direction, they go in, coaching wise, I hope it's, the right direction, to get it back to what the standard is set to. But I think, whether they keep Odell as the interim head coach going on or whatever they do next, I think the next move would be real good for them.
Yeah, Florida State Athletic Director David Coburn fired Willie Taggart because he said, and I quote, 6-6 isn't good enough. I think everybody who watches and knows Florida State football would agree. Did you think that was the right thing for Florida State to do, to make such an abrupt firing of Coach Taggart, not even allowing him to finish his second season there? Because really, I know Coach Hagan's is off to a good start, 1-0, but you got to find the right fit because, like Aaron just said, so much talent there, and the ACC is relatively weak where Florida State could put this thing back on the tracks quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I just felt like, the athletic department stuff, they felt like, they had to do something, whether they had to just feel like they had to do something in any way after, the Miami game and stuff like that, that's on them, I hate to, another black man out of the job, obviously that was his dream job, so I know he probably cared about it, things didn't work out as well, but, well wishes him, his next stop, but, like you said, it's the standard at Florida State, we win, so, you don't win, that's kind of what happened.
Well, we can't feel too bad for him. He just made about $17 million.
He made a lot of money.
Kind of just go chill on an island and have a good time. The big game coming up at the end of the season, obviously the Florida State versus Florida game. Does Florida State have a chance right now? The distractions may be behind you a little bit. There may be a new head coach signed at that point. Does Florida State, like I said, have a chance to take the Gators down to finish the season off?
Oh, yeah. Rivalries, no matter the record, it's always going to be a tough fought game. Obviously last year it wasn't, but I think they'll come out with more fire, especially with Odell. And, the type of camaraderie he's going to bring between them, I think it's going to be big for them playing together in that game. So I think they're going to come out with a dub always against Gators.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think Florida State's in a good position to kind of shock some people and really finish their season off on a good note and possibly give Coach Higgins an opportunity to become the full-time head coach. Speaking about where Florida State is right now, and if they were to get that victory over the Gators up in Gainesville, would you still say Florida State is a premier place to play college football? It's been that way for so long. A little bit of turmoil down there in Tallahassee. Is Florida State still a premier spot for a college football recruit to go?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's going through a little rough patch right now, but Florida State is still Florida State. We still got that, pass behind it of what we've done and what we can do. So I think we're still a premier. We just got to get the train back on the tracks.
So when you look around the country right now, what are your thoughts about the ACC? They seem to be down a little bit. It's Clemson. Wake Forest had a little bit of run for a little bit. Then they lost last week to Virginia Tech. As a whole, though, where do you see them stay compared to an SEC, Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12?
How the SEC as a whole compared to them?
Yeah, how the ACC is compared to those other conferences, all the rest of the Power Five.
I think the ACC is is very underrated. I mean, compared to other places, I think it's still one of the top conferences, up there with SECs. I consider SEC, Big Ten, and ACC, the top conferences to me. So, yeah, I still consider the premier conference.
And how far do you think Florida State is from getting back up to compete with Clemson? I mean, Clemson really has a stranglehold on the ACC as they've proven year after year. How far is Florida State? Is it just finding the right head coach, or is it kind of getting a bit more talent in Tallahassee to make sure that you guys can compete for another ACC championship?
I don't think it's necessarily on the talent. I mean, one thing about Florida State, you always going to have talent. You always going to have guys that can run, be physical, and, just be violent. So I think it's, it's just right. Yeah, like I said, the right coach coming in, the right coaching staff. And like I said, I believe the next coaching hire that they make will be the right one. Because, like I said, them guys there, they got talent and everything. They just got to put it all together. So I don't think they're that far off.
So bigger game for you, the game against Miami or a game against Florida? Which one kind of you wake up and you feel a little Miami one? All right.
Wow.
Hands down.
Usually we
ain't
talk
close.
to Florida one. Yeah. What reasons?
Ain't
Is ACC or just more trash talking?
I just feel I got as a player, I have more respect for Miami because them boys, like I said, whenever we played them, it was a battle, you know. Like I said, no matter what the record was. With Florida, whenever I played them, you know, we was kind of worried about the next days and stuff after Florida. We wasn't really too worried about Florida when I was there. So for me, you know, Miami was always the game that was most challenging, you know, the most best atmosphere for me.
Which had better DBs? Because obviously Florida touts that, okay, we're DBU, and Miami always has athletes on the back end too, which gave you bigger trouble.
Oh, Florida definitely has better DBs from my time that I played. I played 3. I went there 3 years, but I really only played 2. So the 2 years I was there, I think it was Cheese Tabor and Quincy Wilson my first year, and then the second year was the Marco Wilson and the Carlos Henderson Jet. So I mean, those two good duels of corners, you know. So I always felt like Florida was the better DBs, but Miami was just the better defense as a whole, you know, front seven and all that.
Would you put Clemson up there at all? I mean, I know you guys were pretty competitive when Florida State was making their runs earlier in the 2010s. Is Clemson up there kind of in that third slot after Miami and Florida in terms of a
rivalry? Yeah. I mean, in my time there, I even put Florida behind Clemson. In my time there, speaking of my time there, it was Miami, Clemson, and then Florida. Florida really wasn't too much of a worry every time we played them when I was there. So I always got more hype for them challenging games than Miami and that Clemson.
All right, well, I'm going to put you on the spot before we let you go. Do you have any thoughts on who Florida State should hire to be their next head coach? Could it be Deion Sanders? Could Prime Time become the head coach in Tallahassee?
He could. He got a school down in Texas. You know, I mean, I heard it's pretty good that he's was the OC at or still the OC at. So I really personally, I want to see them either stick with Odell Higgins or I want to see them go get Lawrence Dorsey, which was my wide receivers coach when I was there. Another guy that played at Florida State, bled there, sat in the same seats, and know that culture that FSU need to be back to. So I think it need to be somebody that, you know, came from it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that would definitely make a great impact at Florida State. And Auden just told us, Aaron, that he expects the Noles to knock off the Gators to end 2019 on a high note. I think a lot of people would like to see that as well. Auden, thanks so much for joining us. When we come back, we're going to get bold, really bold, and break down Week 12's action right here on Campus Florida Live. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Campus Lore Live. Big thanks to Auden Tate for joining us. Aaron, interesting times down in Tallahassee. They got to get it right in a hurry. Seminoles need to get back to prominence in college football. Speaking of prominence, I think you have a B bold that you teased a little bit earlier. You said your little bold was Joe Burrow having the most prolific quarterbacking season in college football history. So please entertain us. Be bold. Be bolder than that.
That was my mini one. So get your mind right for the big B bold. This is when we get serious here. My big B bold is when it comes to bowl games, because you always like to look at the records of, you know, SEC has this many wins, ACC, Pac-12. What? No more. The group of five. Let's talk about the group of five here.
Okay.
The American, the AAC, my favorite group of five, will have a better record in bowl games than the ACC. Wow. AAC over the ACC. This league it's good, man. They're good. I mean, SMU, Navy, Memphis, Tulane, Cincinnati, UCF, Temple, USF. I mean, you're loaded.
Yeah.
You are loaded with talent. These guys, I think they got 5 teams in the first playoff polls of the top 25. I think they're going to have 5 once again this week. They're just good. They win football games, great offenses, great defenses. So in the ACC, as we know it, it's our poor Wake Forest. I was really hoping for them, but yeah, it's Clemson and everyone else right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And don't get it confused. He's saying the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, will have a better postseason record than the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yes.
I agree with you on that one. Yes. Nice B bold. My B bold.
What's more bolder, my mini B bold or my big B bold?
I would take the mini one, maybe a little, but I think you might be right on both accounts. So good for you. My B bold, and it may raise some eyebrows at first thought, But think about what happened last week in Tuscaloosa. You mentioned it last week. You said whoever wins this game probably is going to win the Heisman, and that was Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers. Now, what happened on the other side of the field? Tua Tagovailoa coming off that bum ankle. Sure, he had a good game, but he threw that costly pick before halftime, and then he fumbled the ball inside the red zone to give Alabama a 7-0 lead. Is Tua going to play this weekend? I don't know. They're going to Mississippi State. Maybe they get up big in the first half, run the ball, and they give Tua a little rest. I don't think Tua Tagovailoa is going to go to New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. You mentioned it in the show open. Trevor Lawrence, his past 3 games, 9 touchdowns, 0 picks. I think he has a very good finish to the season, and Joe Burrow will most certainly be there. Justin Fields from Ohio State
Trevor Lawrence
will most certainly be there, and Justin Herbert will be there. Yeah, that's my 4 Heisman seats right there. Joe Burrow, LSU, Justin Fields, Ohio State, Justin Herbert from Oregon, and Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. Chase Young, suspended. He ain't going. He's not getting invited.
Trevor Lawrence is not going to New York.
I'm just telling you right now, wait till he finishes the season as strong.
What about Jalen Hurts?
Okay, Jalen Hurts could go there as well. But I think Jalen and Tua are the ones who might be in and out. If Jalen loses to Baylor
how are you
going to
put Trevor Lawrence over Jalen Hurts when it comes to the Heisman race?
I literally just told you because he's going to have an unbelievable finish in the 2019 season.
And Jalen hasn't had one game where he's played bad. Trevor Lawrence looked atrocious the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
Atrocious might be a stretch, but Clemson's going to be undefeated, and we all know what the Heisman voters value the most. The best players on the best teams. Trevor Lawrence is going to be there. Tua Tagovailoa is not. Jalen Hurts may be. But the whole point of my Be Bold is that Tua won't be there. Do you agree with me or not?
I agree with you on that, but I don't agree with you. Trevor Lawrence is going to be there. I have a Be Bold question. I want to put this up here.
Please.
This was asked to me today, and I would love to get your opinion on this. Does Tua stay for his senior year?
Absolutely not. No, I don't think so.
I'm with you on that, but people are like, maybe Tua stays for his senior. Maybe Tua sees that Joe Burrow is going to be the number 1 pick.
Okay.
He's not going to New York. He's not going to win a national championship. And he's a little salty about it. He's like, listen, I want to win a Heisman. I want to be the first pick in the draft. All this stuff, and he's not going to do it, so he's going to come back for senior. I'm with you. I say no. His receivers are gone.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is coming out next year, so you're not going to be the first pick in the draft next year. So might as well leave this year, get some money. And 3, his little brother Talia's there. So Talia's like, get the heck out of here, buddy.
Let me get my shine.
Let me get my time to shine. So, no, I don't think Tua stays for those who are wondering if he is this year. So it's interesting. But
it is. Yeah, you could definitely think about it. Money does talk, and I would assume that he will walk towards it when they dangle about $20 million right in front of his face. That will most likely happen. Let's look forward to Week 12, though. Obviously, Week 11 was fantastic. Hopefully, Week 12 can live up to the hype. We'll go no huddle off the bat. ACC, your least favorite conference. Everybody was hoping Wake Forest would beat Virginia Tech last weekend to set up some sort of a decent matchup for Clemson, but now they travel to Death Valley to take on the number 3 ranked Clemson Tigers. Does Clemson just continue to roll in this spot, or can Dave Clawson and Jamie Newman get back on track?
Clemson rolls. They had their 1 week of oopsie slip up versus North Carolina, and then ever since pretty much then it's been Trevor Lawrence. The defense has been great all season long, so they'll mop up Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest kind of was looking ahead a little bit to this matchup, fell asleep a little bit versus Virginia Tech, did not have their best game of the season. Clemson rolls. They are significantly on all sides in all parts of the game. They are a better football team. They go out there and show it this weekend.
Yeah, they see exactly what they have to do to get back into the college football playoff. They should be able to take care of business.
Well, I think they're a little upset too where they are in the playoffs.
No question, and they should be.
Yeah, I think they're like, listen, we won the national championship last year, and you've said it a million times. We've yet to lose, yet the first ranking comes out and we're not in the top 4.
It's crazy.
Are you kidding me right now? So I think mindset-wise, Dabo has those guys laser focused, and I feel bad for anyone in their path the rest of the way this season.
A team that needs to stay laser focused has a big in-state rivalry game this weekend. Michigan State is heading to the Big House to take on number 14, Michigan. Jim Harbaugh against rival teams has not been great. He specifically has a little bit of trouble with Michigan State. Could Sparty upset Big Blue this weekend?
No. I think ever since that Notre Dame just blowout.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, it was huge for him. I think confidence-wise was big for him. I know it was a sloppy game, and Ian Book did not have to play his best versus Michigan, but at the Big House, I think Michigan defensively is finally getting to that kind of that defense we thought they would be this season. They're running the ball well. Shea's not throwing interceptions, and I think they just cut him down throwing the ball in general. They said, okay,
smart.
No more throwing the ball 30 times for you. You get about 20 passes, make them count because that's all you get. Michigan will roll in this one. Michigan State just has no offense, no explosion on that side. I don't think they're going to be able to get anything done.
Yeah, they're missing some juice on the offensive side of the ball. And Michigan has to keep winning, hopefully to make that Ohio State game somewhat big for the Wolverines. Coach Harbaugh needs to get a couple of victories down the stretch for sure. Iowa gave a great fight to Wisconsin just a week ago. They came up a bit short, but now Minnesota rowing the boat with PJ Fleck, top 10 ranked, number 7, heading to Kinnick to take on the number 22 ranked Iowa Hawkeyes. Can they continue to row the boat? I am picking up what PJ Fleck is putting down.
Put me in the boat with you.
Okay,
you get
let's
left
go.
side, I get the right side.
Let's
we'll
go.
just keep rowing this thing. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm sipping the Kool-Aid right now.
Awesome.
I like Minnesota. And I just feel so bad still about being so mean to Tanner Morgan.
You apologize.
I did in the first segment. I did apologize. I just still feel bad though. So I'm sticking with him this week. The RPO action, Bateman on the outside, this offensive line that is like 6'6", I think like 340, 330. That's what they average. They're monsters up
big
front.
guys.
Their right tackle's 6'9". So they just gobbled up. The running back's playing really well. He's about 900 yards this season rushing the football. So they're just very balanced. Iowa offensively is they're going to score 20 points, and hopefully they play great defense. So I like Minnesota continuing to bring the energy for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Iowa's going to try to slow the game down, especially seeing how explosive Minnesota was a week ago against Penn State. Nobody expected that amount of explosive plays from each team in that early kickoff game last week. But Minnesota, they know exactly what they have to do. You said laser focus, what a couple of teams are, like Clemson. Minnesota's in that same boat. They will win.
Get the ball to Bateman.
Iowa.
Dude, 22 yards per catch right now.
It's unbelievable.
22 yards per catch.
Possible Biletnikoff Award finalist as well. Number 21 Navy heading to South Bend to take on number 16 Notre Dame. A great rivalry game. Notre Dame beat Duke last week. Can they beat Navy, or what? Navy might sneak up on them with that triple option?
Give me the triple option.
You're going to go with Navy.
Perry,
Okay,
baby. Malcolm Perry, the quarterback for Navy. Watch out. They are going to eat up that clock. He's doing a great job running the ball. When he does pass it, he's been pretty good this year, actually, when you watch the film. I think they're going to frustrate this defense for Notre Dame. So I like Navy in this one.
All right. I think I'm going to go with Notre Dame at home in South Bend. Look, they know what Navy's bringing them. It's not like they don't play them every single year. Ian Book needs to continue to will the Fighting Irish to a couple more victories down the stretch. I will roll with Notre Dame. A couple of really good top 15 matchups this weekend. As I mentioned it earlier, game day will be in Waco for the Oklahoma at Baylor game. Baylor is undefeated. Aaron, do they have any chance of beating Oklahoma, or will Jalen Hurts in this offense get the victory?
Do you think they're going to go to Magnolia Lane, or what is it called?
Chip and Joanna.
Chip and Joanna. I'm
Yeah.
a little jealous. I want to go there. They should just do the whole show from their house. They have the whole set up by them. But I like Oklahoma. I think this is the end of the line for Baylor. I really do. It's been a fun run. It's been great to see this team kind of will themselves to victories every single week. But CeeDee Lamb on the outside, you want to talk about
beast.
He's unstoppable.
Yeah, he's
I just
a baller.
don't know who can cover him. I just keep feeling this Oklahoma defense is going to get back to what they looked like at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they really did look good at the start of the season.
Baylor's offense is nothing special. I mean, they've had their moments this year, but overall, this is a team that just somehow wins. You just don't know how, and they're always close, low-scoring games usually. I think Oklahoma comes out there and just Jalen has one of his days where he rushes for 120 yards, he throws for 250, 4 or 5 combined touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb gets 3 or 4 of them. And Oklahoma wins this one by double digits.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you here. You just said Baylor finds ways to win football games. And that kind of intangible sometimes is hard to shake. You saw Oklahoma's weakness against Kansas State. Now, this atmosphere is going to be a lot different. I think I've said it 5 times now. Game day will be there. If you didn't know, I've told you 100 times. But that will be a lit crowd, as the kids like to say. Matt Rule and this Baylor Bears team know that they keep squeaking by and making it hard on themselves. I think they might force a couple of turnovers, frustrate Jalen Hurts, and get a win to really shake up the college football playoff picture. I'm rooting for the Baylor Bears here, and I think they're going to win outright. That's exactly what's going to happen this week.
You're crazy.
All right,
Here we
we'll
go.
check back next week. The other game that's in the top 15 is an SEC battle down at Jordan-Hare Stadium on the Plains. Number 5 Georgia is heading to Auburn to take on the number 13 ranked Auburn Tigers. Now look, Auburn has a great defense. Everybody knows that. But their offense has been anemic at points. Bo Nix is still that true freshman. He can make those true freshman mistakes. I just happen to think this is a good matchup for Georgia. I think Georgia's offense against Auburn's defense gives a slight edge to the Dogs. And then more specifically, Georgia's defense against Auburn's offense gives a heavy advantage to Georgia.
Where, just please explain to me, where in Georgia's offense do you feel this huge advantage against the best defense?
Run the tape back. I just said slight advantage, but
any
they're going to run the
best
football,
defense
and they're going to challenge their offensive line to take on Derek Brown and that Auburn front four. Okay, I know they had a couple of injuries last week, but these guys will be playing this week. And I think Georgia, with their offensive mindset, if they don't turn the ball over, and I know it's so easy to say that, and it's so boring to say that, and it's very simple.
Offense,
do not turn the ball over. Georgia's going to have a good chance to win this football game. They're going to run directly at Derek Brown. They're going to try to take him out of the game by making him move laterally so he can't collapse the pocket and change the game.
All four of their dudes up front are great. Plus, their linebackers are phenomenal. They got a great secondary. I think this game, if you're looking for an LSU-Alabama scoring, that ain't happening.
No chance.
This is 17-10. This is 17-13. This is a low-scoring game. This is the two best defenses in the SEC, two of the best defenses in the country, and two offenses that are still searching for themselves. Bo Nix, he's had his moments this year. Boobie Whitlow is back. I think that's a huge positive for this team. He's healthy. He should be rolling. They're coming off a bye week. Offensive line, I thought was improved, and then at times they just seem to regress pretty fast backwards, looking like they did last year. They win games because of defense. Same thing with Georgia. They win games because of defense. So low scoring. Georgia squeaks out because of Rodrigo. If you go back to special teams, they're not going to turn the ball over, and Rodrigo's going to make a kick to win the game. And the third Be Bold of the week.
Oh, lots of Be Bold.
I should probably save some of these.
Keep it going, please.
Could this be the beginning of Gus and his way to Arkansas?
Oh, interesting. That's a great point. You're already starting to see that on social media a little bit. Gus Malzahn going home to Arkansas. Who knows? Could he get sick of being on the hot seat every single year?
Every year, man.
Look, 3 losses if they lose this weekend to Georgia, then they're going to have to play Alabama to end the season. Who knows? I think Georgia wins this game, and I think they get into the 20s, Aaron. I know you said 17-10 Dogs or 17-14 off of Rodrigo Blankenship field goal. I think Georgia knows exactly what they have to do, and they will be able to execute that without turning the ball over. That will prove to be the difference. But the beauty of it is they have to play the game, and you and I will be back next week. Yes. Vindication will be in one of these chairs, and I have a feeling it will most likely be me, as it usually is. So we'll have to watch the games this weekend and evaluate
like LSU, Alabama,
and get right back. Exactly. I did. I gave you props at the start of the show. Big thanks to our guests this week, Josh Dobbs and Auden Tate. We'll see you right back here next week. Thanks for watching Campus Row Live.